Hello everyone, welcome to Kindle Direct Press. My name is Stephen Shields and I'm a Kindle Direct Press author, along with also being traditionally published as a poet by some other presses, but I've used Kindle Direct Press a few times, and I thought I'd put this video together mainly to acquaint my Introduction to Media Studies class with the joys of self-publishing. You can see it for yourself. We're going to do a quick walkthrough and you can see how easy it is yourself. One of the things you do is you have to get there by getting to the website, obviously. It's kindledirectpress.com, kdp.com, or you can put kdp.amazon.com. Either way will get you there. It's a service owned by Amazon, so you sign in with your Amazon account. If you don't have an Amazon account, you can sign up for one here. It's free. So after logging in, you'll see a page that looks very similar to this. Kindle Direct Publishing rather, up here at the top. You can look at your bookshelf and see what kind of past things you have, if you've created anything at all. Here's my bookshelf. Here are a few things I've done in the past. They're small books of poems. This is one of my more recent ones, Random Acts of Childhood. Here's one from 2012. And then there's a sort of small collection of my great-grandmother's poetry here. These books are not hard to assemble. You can do it from Microsoft Word. It will also be helpful if you can use Word to convert your final manuscript into something like a PDF, but that's not necessary anymore. In the old CreateSpace days, which was the predecessor to Kindle Direct Press, you had to use a PDF. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that we want to create a new title. We've got two choices here. Let's say you're aiming at the Kindle marketplace and you don't really want a paperback book for some reason. You'd create the ebook here, or you may create the paperback and then decide after the paperback is published, which is what I've done down here. You can see that I could still create the ebook as a sort of second step if I wanted to. The only advantage in having both is that you have two opportunities to get your work in front of the public. But there are some people who really are all digital. They don't think paper has a future, etc., and that's fine. So pick one or the other here. Just to show you this and be a little different today, I'm going to create the ebook first. I'm going to use as a basis for this a small manuscript of thoughts that I collected while I was visiting a poetry workshop in Santa Fe, New Mexico about 20 years ago when I was just first getting started writing anything. So we'll create the ebook by pushing on the button. And it will take you to this screen. It will show you a variety of tabs. Here's the details. Here's the content where you'd upload the content. And eventually, when you get through that thicket, you'd get to set the pricing and the distribution of it. So we'll start with some fairly simple things. By default, books are in English. If you're not an English speaker and you want something different, here's your chance to change it. Let's give the book a title. In this case, the workshop I went to was something that was offered called the Glen Workshop in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And it was in 2002. So there's my title. I could give it a subtitle. I don't know, what would it be, Steve? Thoughts of an Amateur Writer. All right, fine. Thoughts of a deranged writer, perhaps, is what you want. Now let's say you're creating a series of books, like the Hardy Boys or something like this, and this is the first of many volumes. You could indicate that here with a series. By default, it's a first edition, so you don't have to specify that. Who are you? Well, you need a name and a last name. And what are you? Are you the author? If you are, that's by default. Leave it alone. You're the author, so we'll put myself back in here again. As the author, and I could add others. Look at this. You could add more authors if you have co-authors. You could also change the role here from author to editor, or to illustrator, or to photographer, what have you. All right, so you have a chance to do several of these things. I'm going to remove this for now because I'm already listed as the primary author. Okay, I don't need to worry about some of these other things. Now, whenever you buy anything on Amazon, if you've ever bought anything on Amazon, you know they like to have a description. And if you really are not sure why, you can check this hyperlink here and it'll pop up this little box. Customers view your book description as they shop on Amazon, as I just said. Sometimes it's the first experience with the content, so if you have a well-written description, people may actually take a look at it. So what kind of description could I come up with? I'm just going to be, in the interest of time, thoughts about attending my first writing workshop led by Image Magazine. Okay, is that compelling enough? Probably not. Do I own the copyright? You darn tootin' I do. Are there some keywords? Again, if you're familiar with search engine optimization, you want to have some search engine terms that they will come up with. I'll just type up a few here, basic ones. There's some pretty obvious ones. Image Magazine. All right. So what are categories? Categories are things you determine in advance. You know, what exactly is this? Is this fiction, nonfiction? Is this an educational thing? I would say this is nonfiction. Is it, what kind of categories do I have down here? Drama, design, is there anything about writing in here? Anything about writing here? No, apparently not. So I'm going to go back up here and call it performing arts. And general. All right, I'm not going to go through the rest of this, but that's how you would do this. You'd kind of come up with some categories just so people know, well, what kind of book is this? It's not a juvenile fiction book, is it? Children's book, it's not a children's book, so I don't have to worry about that. How about pre-orders? No, I'm not ready to am I ready to release the book now? Well, perhaps. Let's just take, just say I'm going to hedge my bets here, and let's put a release date of, I don't know, June 20th out there. And so I have to submit the final version of this. We're going to save this. We're going to continue. This is the basic details that they need to get started with your ebook. So now we have the content tab. You might remember here was the detail tab. We just completed that. And now we're going to go into the ebook content itself. Do you have to worry about digital rights management? Do you want somebody to steal this and copy it and call it their own? Well, you can choose yes or no. This book is not going to actually live. This is just an example book, so I'm not going to check this. Am I ready to upload a pre-order book manuscript file? Why, sure. Why not? Here's the recommended formats you can use. As you see, Word and docx formats. You could also use these other formats, including some other things. Full list there. Okay. Now, one of the things that's a little different for ebooks that's not so different for the paperback version is you'll notice you don't see PDF here. All right. One of the reasons why is because with ebook formats, they have to be able to expand the font sizes and things like that. So we don't want to get screwed up doing something that they can't do. So I'm going to upload my manuscript, which is actually in Word. So now let me go back and see if I can find the darn thing again here. Here it is, the Glenn Journal. Okay, so let's go back here and see if it'll upload here. No, I have to go looking around and linking for it. Hang on a second. Okay, so here's the manuscript that I want to record and upload. It's called Glenn Journal. I'll open it, and you'll see that it's uploading by Digital Magic. And the save is successful. Okay, so it tells you right here your manuscript uploaded successfully. So there you are. Now, if you want to give it a cover, you'll see, thanks for submitting your manuscript. You've got until June the 16th, which is in about a week, to upload the version you want customers to receive when your book is released. Well, so far you've got a manuscript uploaded, but you don't have a cover. Let's get a cover of some sort. They actually have a built-in cover creator, and you can use some of their stock photo images of some sort. You can customize it with your own image. So let's choose a design here. What do we want it to look like? I don't know. Let's see what we have here. So the bug for the Kaltura was actually sitting on top of the continue button, and I didn't see that. So anyway, continue is where you want to go here. Basically, they're just giving you a sort of quick overview how to use the cover creator. You'll choose a design, pick a style, edit some things, and then take a look at the preview. So let's continue. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you're going to pick an image from your own computer. So here I'll choose this one, and it will lead me to someplace on my computer where I might have pictures. Let's just see where that is. Look at all these pictures. So I'm going to stop here and pick something appropriate, and we'll be right back. Okay, let's pick an image of some sort, and I'm just going to grab something that I happen to have in my files. You can see up here a couple of projects I've recently worked on. These are a couple of potential covers. We settled on this one. I'm also the president of the Georgia State Poetry Society, so we picked this for our annual anthology. This is free artwork. You can get this from online sources like Creative Commons. Just go out and type, free digital artwork, and you'll find all sorts of things. All you have to do is really give the person whose artwork you're using some credit, and maybe send them some money if you feel so inclined. But here's some examples of some other pieces of artwork that we considered and ultimately didn't use. I'm just going to pick one just to kind of get on with it here. So let's pick this one here, and you'll see what happens. What will happen is they will automatically, Kindle will automatically start giving you a variety of choices you can make. Here's some choices of what the cover might look like with this incredible title that you just come up with. One thing you'll notice as you look at these potential covers that they're all in a variety of fonts and styles, and look at the way that the title takes up most of the room here. You'll discover that maybe that title is a little bit awkward. Maybe I'll change that. So let's go back and do that real quick. It's actually pretty simple to do that. All you have to do is go back here to the first tab, Kindle eBook Details, have it load, and there you are back to the beginning where you have a chance to talk about what your title is. And let's just call it Glen Workshop. Let's not hog up a lot of room here. And I don't think I need a subtitle. Let's just let that go, okay? So once I make these changes, I'll go down here to the bottom of the page where it asks me to save these changes and continue. I didn't change the manuscript at all, so all I have to do now is go to the bottom of this second tab where I was working and launch the cover creator once again here. Let's see if it held on to my image. Probably not. So here we go. We'll do this again. Hang on a second. Okay, here we are again. Let's pick, just for laughs, let's pick a different image. How about this one? Sure, why not? Let's take that one in hand to see what it looks like. This is the nice thing about Cover Creator. You can create some interesting covers. What's your pleasure here? I don't know. Let's pick this first one here. There's my cover. Not a bad looking cover. I like the fact that the title goes directly over the open space here that's in the sky, and you get a nice visual metaphor of some sort. You'll see that most of the picture didn't get used. So now if I was really determined, I could move this thing around here a little bit. I could move parts of the image around and do a variety of things to it. Okay, so let's just see if I do that. What happens? There we go. Maybe I like that better. Get a little bit of the sunset in there. And if I was like Bob Ross, I could put some happy little trees in here perhaps. Okay, fine. So we got that done. Now what? Now you can kind of customize this a little bit. When you customize things, you can change some colors. You could even change the layout if you're really not happy with this. And then, of course, the fonts are always subject to change. You could sort of, for example, highlight this. Here's your font. Maybe you don't like that font. It's something called Ubuntu. And so you can play around with the font for a little bit. Maybe you like this better. Or maybe you like something called Railway. Whatever you like. All right. So we'll leave that alone there. And then we're finished with the cover. Just in the interest of time, I went ahead and pushed this tab up here that said Preview so that I could get a preview of the eventual cover. So here it is. Glen Workshop, Stephen Shields. And that's pretty much the only information that I have to worry about. It does give you some chances to change color modes. This is for the ebook, remember, and most of the Kindles that are out there and Barnes & Noble Nooks are in color these days. The old Kindle I have is strictly black and white. So when we're finished and we're satisfied with whatever it is we have, we'll say Save and Submit. it'll take us back to the second tab again. We'll go down here just to be sure we haven't forgotten to do something here. Oh, do we want to see the Kindle ebook previewer? Why, sure we do. Here you have a chance to see what the eventual product actually looks like. You can see there's our cover. So let's launch the previewer and we'll have everything saved. It'll take a few seconds for them to prepare the files, and it's going to take several minutes. So I'm going to pause here and we'll be back. Okay, and ta-da, here's eventually what the preview looks like. They've got a sort of simulated Kindle here, and here's my opening cover. It's rather a nice looking cover, if I do say so myself. So let's here's the preview buttons. I can look at this along here, and here's my manuscript. You can see it started back in 2002. And it goes on. This goes on for several pages. I think there were like 17 pages to this. Is this a book? No, it's not really a book, but I want to talk about that in just a minute here. So let's just kind of go through here, sort of belly aching about Southwest Airlines flying me to Albuquerque. Staying with my brother for a few days out in Phoenix before I went on to this workshop, which was actually over in Santa Fe. So on and so on and so on here. It goes on and on and on and on and on, all the way through the book. Now, of course, a page in a Kindle ebook is probably not quite the same as a book of text. So here we go, and so on here. So here I am at the end of this little missive of mine from a long time ago, and you'll notice that you can also see this. I guess this is set to the tablet mode. You could set this for what it would look like on a phone, typical phone, also the actual Kindle e-reader, and you also have a choice of whether you want this to be in landscape or portrait mode. You also can change the size of the font and some other details of your particular ebook. So once we're satisfied more or less with the details of what we see here on the screen, it doesn't look terrible. It actually reads, and we're at the end here. I didn't put the end, but there you go. Let's go back to book details here, and it should return me back to the content page, and I could go down here and say, okay, fine. So there's my previewer that I've launched. I previewed on my Kindle device even. And then at some point it says you don't have to have an ISBN. Now this is something kind of an interesting thing to note here. ISBN is an international standard book number. It's what allows publishers to separate one book or one type of edition of a book from another, and so it's very helpful if you're dealing with actual physical books, but ebooks are not required to have one, so I'm going to skip that. Do I have a publisher? Well, I'm just myself, so I'm not going to list myself as the publisher. That's vain. So I'm going to save this and continue. I have, known people who would do that, make up some silly name of a non-existent publisher just to make it look like it was a legit publication. Basically, nobody cares. So here we get to the pricing page, this third tab, and very quickly you can do a variety of things. You can enroll for a cost, I believe, a small one, in something called KDP Select. What territories do I want? Why, everybody in the world, so leave that checked by default. What about a price, royalty plan? I don't know. Am I going to be greedy? A royalty plan? Sure, let's see what this is. I want 70% royalties. What is that going to be? Oh, let's just give this let's say it's worth $10. No, let's not. Let's do the $9.99 tango here. Okay. All right, so here's what I would get for my royalties if anybody was ever to order this at 35% or 70% royalties. Why do you care about royalties? Well, that's how much money you make. This is not a free service that Amazon is doing out of the goodness of their hearts. They expect to make some money too. So if you charge $10, they're going to give you $3.50. Guess who's going to get the other $6.50? That's right. It's our friends at Amazon. Okay, and that's how they pay for the service. Do you want to allow people to lend this, like libraries, for example? And are there any pre-order terms? So I could submit this. I'm not going to do that for pre-order because I have no intention of selling this. There's some pretty personal information in there. This is just for an example. So I'm going to save this as a draft and say a few things to kind of close out our demonstration here. All right, so we've saved this. It's there in my account. If I were to go back to the bookshelf, I should see it. Let's see if I see it. Yep, there it is. And whenever I log out and log back in, I can continue the setup from wherever I left off by just pushing continue setup. And I would actually have a legitimate publication of some sort. It's that simple. To tell you the truth, I've seen some stuff on Kindle that was worth paying for, and then there's some stuff that looks like a student term paper that somebody decided to monetize. Are people doing things like that? Apparently. So I say join the party. If you've got some piece of writing of your own, whether it's maybe it's a chapter of a book that you're working on, maybe it's a play that you've written and you've never published it, maybe you have your own collection of poetry. These are things that you can do with Kindle Direct Press and self-publishing. You don't have to wait for somebody else to do it for you. You can do it yourself, and that's the joy of Kindle Direct Press. Thank you for watching along and listening along, and I hope this helps you in your voyage to become a published author.